when the mind comes up with, these movies, these stories, these thoughts, you're really in the content.
Mm.
But if you just step back,
Yeah.
see what's happening, look at the context
Yeah. I like what you said.
of, okay, wait a minute, look, and how the mind works and what hasn't served. And I know for me,
Wait,
because
wait, wait. What
yep,
hasn't served is still content.
yep, yep.
So I love what you're saying, content versus context. What is content versus context?
You asking me that?
Yeah.
Content is your stories, your thoughts that keep running. Context is just able to see your mind, from 30,000 feet, see what's going on from 30,000 feet,
What's going on from 30,000 feet could still be content.
well, you just watching the mind. Context is just seeing is being aware.
Yes, but
The
you could start
awareness.
thinking about the content, and that is more content. So I hazard you here.
Yeah, but it does.
Especially when you say things like, what doesn't serve you? There is no content that serves you. None.
Even when
Here's
that
why.
person.
Here's why. Yeah.
Okay.
Even when, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, that person was kind to me. That was really cool. That doesn't serve
Yeah.
me.
So there's a fundamental fact that thoughts are thought feelings. A good thought feels good, a bad thought feels bad. That's it, that's all. Could we say good thoughts serve you better because they don't stress you out, like the body, they don't stress the body out? We could say that, right? But
Yep.
so the highest value to looking at the difference between content and context is the difference between thinking and not thinking. Thinking is content. I don't care what the content is. Not thinking opens you to the context of what's going on, of the fact that there's thinking going on or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So when you come to your senses and you become aware that there was thinking going on, in that moment, there's no more thinking going on for that moment. Okay? You've become aware, oh, there was thinking. You don't even think that, you know it. And in that moment, you become aware and you know what is not thinking. So there's thinking, and it's an itty bitty bit or thought. It's an itty bitty bit of your experience. And there's everything else that is, we'll call it what is not thinking. And when you become aware of that, you stop thinking. You can't do both at the same time. You can have thoughts when you're aware of the context, but you can't be thinking. When you go thinking, you lose the context. Now, the context for you is you're the character in the dream, and there's other dream characters, and they're doing things to you, and you're feeling bad, and you got to do things that serve you. And it's all dream. So I say, wake up all together. If you still think there's something in thinking that serves you, there might be a thought you can use, but there's no content of mind that really serves you. No content, it's story. I use the example on Tuesday night's call of, I'm saying we're not throwing thought out altogether. We're just throwing out thinking, unconscious thinking. Because, if you come home and your door is ajar, it's useful to have, the thought, maybe I've been broken in. Maybe there's someone in the house. This has happened to me here. The door was ajar, it wasn't wide open. My first thought was, is there someone in the house? The second thought was, are the cats out? I'm glad for that thought, because when I opened the door, I noticed the cats. I wasn't off dreaming, thinking. I noticed the cats. And I'm like, oh, cats are here. There's nobody in the house. Because if there was somebody in the house, the cats would not be showing themselves. They don't show when there's a stranger in the house, they disappear. So I knew right away there's nobody in the house. I didn't have to go and freak out and get anxious and go get my neighbor and go come and check every nook and cranny in the house to make sure there's nobody here. So you have access to intelligence, you have access to the ecology, I like to call it, the totality, to the context. Love that word today, Terry. You have access to the context outside of the movie. Just like when you're in a theater, you're in the context is what? Let's use that example. You've gone to the movies. What's the content? What's the context?
Well, the story, the screen, what's on the screen, what's playing, the movie is the content.
So there's a couple layers here, isn't there?
Yeah.
So the content, when I talk about content, I'm talking about unconscious dreaming content. That's in your mind. The question, right? The infamous question, is it in the mind or is it in the room? This is how you can tell the content from the context. So you may be watching a movie, but you're in your mind. Of course you
Yep.
are. You wouldn't be having experience of whatever they're playing on the screen as if it's real. So in your mind, that's the content. And you may be thinking about the characters on the screen, and that's content. But you might also be thinking about yourself in your life and relating your life to that. Oh yeah, I've done it. Oh, I felt that. Oh, that was so good. I had that too. Or that person, blah, 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 blah. So you've got whatever's in the mind. That's the movie going content. And then you've got the context, which is the movie theater. The lights up on the wall. Other people sitting around you.
Yeah.
The fact of sitting in a seat. That's the context. And if you paid attention to that exclusively, it would be very challenging. But I've often suggested this as an exercise for people. You might be more inclined to do it if the movie is a scary one as opposed to a happy one. You might want to get into it in a happy one, right? And go and experience the happy feelings. You can experience the fact that we can go to a movie and experience happy feelings tells you right there things, people, or events don't make you happy, although you might think the movie made you happy. What made you happy were the thoughts that you enjoyed. Tuesday night, I spoke about going for a walk in the snow up a trail and coming by these young people one at a time. They were just by themselves and they all had masks. And at first I had these sort of like, they're alone. Why are they wearing a mask? I wasn't. And that thought just sort of felt, yeah, inquisitive like this. That's how that thought felt. I felt that thought. After a few of these young kids going by, the thought started to change. And it was like, oh, isn't that great? They're wearing a mask anyway. That's respectful or caring, or they're, that's really sweet. And then I'm feeling what? Respectful, caring, and really sweet. And then I get to the top there, and see, the school just got let out, and there's a bunch of them standing around wearing masks, but distanced. I was like, wow, they are really caring for each other. Look at this, even in a group, this is really awesome. And then and I'm feeling that. And then the next thought comes up, yeah, they could be doing it just because they have to. How does that thought feel, right? So you can go through a gamut of thought feelings, actually hundreds or thousands, in 10, 20, 30 minutes. Not because of what's going on outside of you, but because of what's going on inside of you. Are you aware that it's what's going on inside of you that you're feeling and not what's going on outside of you? If you're not aware of that, you're unconscious and you're thinking it's things, people, or events that make you happy or unhappy. If you're aware of that, you're free from dreaming, free from mind. If you've learned this, even if you're still not awake to the truth of yourself, you can reverse suffering very quickly. and you can learn to stay out of it. What happens is your thermostat, your good feeling thermostat. Everybody's got it at a certain point. You only feel so good all day long. Why? Not because that's some fundamental reality about how you have to be, but because you think that's normal and that's you and this is how good you can feel until something happens to you, something good that happens to you, and then you go, oh, I can feel better. I can feel happy. This is so good. You all can do this right now. Experiment with it. However you feel right now, can you feel better? Can you lift it up just even a little bit? Raise your hand if you were able to do that, just because you can. If you know, yes, okay.